In this video, we're going to be checking out the new Hasbro Marvel Legends series, Spider-Man Homecoming, Spider-Man, and Vulture 2-pack. So these are your 3 3/4 inch release figures of both Spider-Man and Vulture. They come in a twin pack, or 2-pack, not twin pack because that would be the same figure, but it comes in a 2-pack featuring the web slinger and his arch rival, the Vulture. For the Spider-Man, this figure looks pretty good actually. One thing I do like that they didn't do is that they didn't incorporate additional paint in the recessed areas of the webbing. By leaving that out, it keeps of course the webbing almost harder to make out, but it keeps the figure looking a little cleaner and not just all the built-up residual that has all the paint, especially from his larger figure counterpart. Though I do think the figure turned out really good. Holy legs going on here. My spider senses are tingling. These legs are just wonky. Obviously the wider thigh to the smaller knee to the much wider, again, calf makes the legs look very sectional. I don't know really how they could have gone about that, because I mean, at the end of the day, at least you're getting a fully posable leg, but boy oh boy does that broader thigh make the leg look a little, and not to mention too, my particular figure, and I'm sure results may vary, but my particular figure, the leg was really warped out of packaging. In fact, it's actually still a little warped. I'm gonna have to take some hot water there to it and just kind of warp it back into place. Other than that though, I mean, again, the webbing is nicely done. I like the black lining. I have to admit, like, the Spider-Man costume is growing on me. Initially being somebody that didn't really like the costume, I have to admit the costume is growing on me. The raised emblem is a nice touch. The eyes are done very nice and clean. It does look like, though, here, I don't know if the black paint was supposed to come a little bit further down. As you can see that there's an area where, yeah, right underneath the black there, looks like that black could have filled in a little bit more. From a distance, though, you don't really notice it at all. One of the things I don't like about Spider-Man figures, and this one is no exception, unfortunately, is that they never put wrist swivels. So in order to get the Spider-Man shooting hand posed, you have to rotate the entire forearm. But like if you want to rotate the hand this way, for example, you can't hinge the elbow. You can only hinge it when you rotate it this way, showcasing his arsenal of web shooter capsules there. But the arm does pose very nicely. Just wish that the wrist itself could actually have rotated too. For comparison on his larger counterpart, here he is next to the Marvel Legends release of Spider-Man. You can see, and I made sure that I tried to use the same head so it was a better comparison between the two. Let's just tip his head up slightly. It's more apparent, I think, when you look at the smaller one versus the larger one, how much unnecessary blue paint they slathered all over his arms and webbing here, making him a very muddy looking Spider-Man. This one, by comparison, they should have almost kept it very clean. In fact, I would almost say the 3 3/4 inch Spider-Man has nicer colors than the larger Spider-Man. Simple case here of less is more. I think if given the option, this figure I think is a better looking figure than this one right here, this one just being a smaller version of Spider-Man. Let's run through his posability. He does have a ball joint in the head, hinges up and down. The arms hinge outward. Missing as well is the webbing. I don't know, maybe we might get another release of this guy that has the webbing to it. The arms do rotate all the way around. You got your bend in the elbow, as well as a rotation in the forearm. You have an upper torso ball joint. Forward and back motion on the legs. A double bend in the knee, a nice touch there. And a hinge in the foot. It does also give you that ankle pivot too, and you've got peg holes on the undersides of the feet. So if you want to make use of a display stand, especially with my particular figure being as warped as he is in the leg, I might actually go and search out a display stand for this guy to stand on. Good overall looking figure. Very happy with how Spider-Man turned out, and honestly speaking, for his posability, He doesn't have nearly as much as this guy right here, missing the, the swivel in the thigh and as well as the swivel in the wrist. But I actually think he's a nicer painted figure than this one right here. Moving along to the lesser impressive figure, we have Vulture. As good as this one is a step up from the Marvel Legends, this one here is a drastic step down from the Marvel Legends larger scale release of Vulture. He does come with a pair of wings that you can detach. They are just pegged into place. And unlike the Vulture that was the Marvel Legends version, the larger scale, this one you don't have any sort of assembly. What I do like though is that the wings are hinged and paired with one another. So when you move the one wing up, it also moves the other side up as well. A nice touch there. It's also missing the little turbine propellers, but again, a smaller figure for this one right here. Nice sculpt on the wings overall. Unfortunately, again, the figure itself leaves a little something to be desired. By the way, the wings just peg simply into the back section here, like so, and you've got yourself the Vulture. Why I do say it's a step down, if we compare it to the larger Marvel Legends version, they went certainly above and beyond to give us a see-through visor as well as the eyes inside. Now, I'm not to say that the figure itself had to go to the same extent that the larger one had, but copying it out and giving us just a dome, a painted-in dome, it actually looks more like a G.I. Joe than it does actually Vulture. Paint's really been kind of pulled back on this one, favoring more of a silver gray than this kind of gunmetal brownish gray that the larger Vulture had. I mean, I can overlook the fact that the jacket and stuff is trimmed back on color. I mean, at least they've sculpted still the furry hood or the furry collar. And I can overlook the fact that they went with more of a lighter gray. But of all the things that they could have done better, why would they have not at least fixed the visor so it's just not this very mock G.I. Joe head sculpt that we end up having here? A much more superior looking head sculpt here on the much larger 6-inch, 6.5-inch Marvel Legends. But there's the comparison between the two. For his posability, he's got at least a lot better than the deluxe or the basic Spider-Man figures that we looked at on this channel as well. His head is on a ball joint. That's good. Hinges on the arms. Rotation all the way around. Already he's 10 times better than the deluxe figure. A hinge in the elbow as well as a rotation in the forearm. He doesn't seem to have a crunch or a waist swivel, just likely due to the fact that his belt, the way it is, you obviously can't rotate the waist. Forward and back motion on the legs, nice ball joint going on there, double hinge on the knee, and a hinge and ankle pivot in your foot. Not your foot, his foot. Figure stands decently enough. Both figures stand well. Display stands would help for a more dynamic pose, especially for Spider-Man here. All around, not bad figures. The Vulture by far is the weakest of the two. I don't expect see-through plastic, but if they could have done something a little bit different with the eyes, that it just wasn't a painted over visor, I think could have really improved these figures. Having looked at already the 3 3/4-inch Marvel Legends, having looked at the 6-inch Marvel Legends, and having already looked at the basic class figures, the basic version of Vulture, I think, was much better than this one right here, but suffered so horribly by lack of articulation. And I know that they geared themselves more to wanting the collectors to buy these figures than the basic figures, which would explain why the pullback on articulation. But in all honesty, I don't know why they didn't release this guy and they didn't release the 3 3/4-inch and spend a little bit more effort on this one than giving us that mid-tier figure as well. Today, though, we were checking out the new Marvel Legends series. This was the 3 3/4-inch, originally formerly known as the Marvel Universe. We're looking at the Spider-Man Homecoming Spider-Man and Vulture. Disappointing. Better than his basic figure, but all in all, I think his head sculpt is much worse than the basic figure. If you guys haven't had a chance to subscribe to this channel, what are you waiting for? Hit that little subscribe button down below. You're good to go. And if you didn't get a chance to check out the Spider-Man Homecoming Marvel Legends reviews, as well as the other basic figures I looked at on this channel, there's a Spider-Man Homecoming and Marvel Legends playlist, respectively, for your viewing pleasure. Thanks, guys. See you next time.